Alright guys, we're back. We've already done the tune-up and the replacement of the O2 sensors on the truck. I did it at night, so I didn't record it. So that's already been done. We recorded the one with the oil change. So there's just too much of a hassle when I was out here the other night working on it to try to show that part. But what we're going to do today is we're going to work on installing another dash. The dash in my truck is cracked. It's been cracked for a long time. It's just a characteristic of these model trucks. I found this one in a salvage yard, and it's not the same color as mine. Mine's gray. This one's a charcoal. So I mean, it's close enough to match what I have in there for now. I had to do one small repair. It had one little crack right here, and as you can see, I've already taken care of it. What I did was, I mean, whatever floats your boat, you can use whatever you want to. I just got a bunch of these. I got a bunch of these laying around, so that's what I'm using. What I did is I inlaid them here, I realigned it, glued it, and then I laid these in and I epoxied these in where now it gives it some type of reinforcement. Because when Chevrolet designed this, what makes these dashes crack is basically the UV from the sun, the sunlight and stuff. It gets hot, it gets cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And since there's no reinforcement in here, no reinforcement in here, no reinforcement in here, and as you go along, you see how there's reinforcement here, reinforcement here. It's very rare that they'll crack right here, but they're notorious for cracking all in here, 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 over here, because it's just straight plastic. So by putting these in, it gives it support and reinforces the dash to keep it from cracking. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little homemade remedy to get it fixed. I'm going to pop this off, but I don't know. Let's see how I'm not even too sure how it comes off. First time I've ever done one of these too, so I'm not no dash expert. But it's my own vehicle to save money. I'm learning the process of how it's done. So looks like it's got some kind of screw in that one. There. So we're probably going to have to remove the mount for the radio to be able to fix this. Because let me show you what happens. So if you're kind of not understanding what I'm talking about here, so let me show you. If you don't do any type of reinforcement, this is what's going to happen to the dash if you put it in. So look, I've already popped out my radio section here. I've already taken the radio out on this old dash. So this is what will happen. Since there's no reinforcement, you see this? It'll break all across here, all over there. And this is, of course, this is the first place that it starts, and that's where you see, if you notice that new dash that I have, it had this, just all it had is just this one right here that was broken. So other than that, it's all intact. But see, look how it's broken here. You see that? Hey, look at this. Look how it broke here. Yeah, I mean, this thing's. See, and you see how there's no reinforcement in this plastic when they put this mold? That's why it breaks, man. Because the sun hits this and it contracts, swells, and over a period of time, there's no elasticity left in this, and since there's no reinforcement, it's going to crack. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. Because if you don't have any extra strength in there to keep it together, it's not going to stay together. And look how mine cracked right across the center here. And then look how it's cracked right here. It's cracked right here. So I'm going to take out, this is the holder for the radio. So I'm going to remove it on the new one, and I'm going to reinforce all up in here so I don't have this issue that I had with this one this time. I don't want to have a repeat. I only want to fix it one time, not have to come back to it and mess with it. So that's the plan. Is to right now we're going to remove that and we're going to reinforce it, and then we're going to remove this dash and put that dash in here to replace this. And whenever you're working on anything like this, you always want to make sure you disconnect the battery to the truck, because one, you're probably going to be messing with the odometer and all that stuff, so that's electronic too, so you don't want to short anything out there. And then number two, most importantly, you don't want your airbags to go off, because you got an airbag here and you're going to have to disconnect that and take the airbag out to get this dash out. But that's why always first things first, before you start anything, disconnect the battery. Okay, so but yeah, it's been due. I've been waiting for a long time and looking for a long time. I wanted to get the same color, but all the ones that I've ever found were cracked really bad. I mean real bad, just like this is. So it just so happened, like I lucked out when I went to go pick up a cable for my F350. It just so happened I had a truck that had just came in. It was a 3/4 ton, 2014 model though. The dash is still the same, I guess, all the way from mid 2007 to 2014. I guess the interior of the HD series, because this is an HD truck, the dashes are the same, unless you have like I guess maybe captain's chairs, and there's a solid console here, and then it changes. But if you just have the jumper seat here in the middle, the dash is the same setup, and it's exactly the same setup as what I've got in here, just that it's a charcoal color. It had the digital gauges on it. I was going to buy this panel, but mine's different. Mine, because the digital has an extra set of wires that plugs in right here. This is just a filler, so I don't have the extra wire, so it was no point in me buying that part. So I left that behind. But everything else I bought the entire dash. I bought the glove boxes, the upper, the lower. I bought all the panels across here, the entire dash, the panel that goes up here. I even bought the seats. I got seats that I want to replace these seats with. And I bought the radio, but it's locked. I got the radio out of the truck too, man, but it's locked because my VIN is different. So I haven't figured a workaround yet on this one, but that's something I'm gonna have to look at. You know. All right, so okay. So we've already disconnected the battery in here. While we're waiting on the epoxy to dry out there, we can start working on this dash. So let me see if I can set you guys here so more of y'all can see what I'm going to be doing.
put the bottom panels in.
All right, guys. Well, my phone died, and so I had to go put it on the charger, and I brought the GoPro out, and I only had like one battery, and then I hooked up the GoPro and started filming while I was putting the dash back in, and then it died too. So the phone's charged now. We're done with putting it in. Well, almost done. Just a couple of little snafus here. One, the parking brake hanging down there, which I didn't notice on, I guess on a 2014 model. It has a different setup that hooks to the bottom of the dash. It's not the same. Other than that, everything is the same, exactly the same as my old dash. I mean, everything's the same except for the parking brake, where the parking brake hooks up. And what was the other snafu? There was one more that was a little bit different. Oh, the glove box. So in this model of mine, I have the airbag key to turn it on and off on the passenger side right here. Apparently it must be located in a different spot on the 2014. I had to cut this glove box would not mount in here because it came all the way up to this point here, so it wouldn't close. You could mount it, but you couldn't close it. So I had to take it off. I measured my old one out. I still need to sand this down and refine it a little bit, but I took a wheel grinder to it and I just cut it off. I cut it to how my old glove box was, and it works perfect now. So those were the two differences. Other than that, it's the same. Here, let me take this off so you can see it. And it's perfect. Look at that. Beautiful. This thing, I have my gray one. I don't know if the video caught it or not. I haven't gone back to do any editing to see, or if the camera had already died. What had happened here was I didn't realize. Yeah, I bought the entire dash. In the beginning, I think I didn't have this cover, but I did. It was inside. But when I went and when I went back inside and I found it, and I brought it out here, I didn't snap because the truck that I bought it off of was a wrecked truck. So the airbags deployed both on the steering wheel side and on the, because it was a head-on collision, and on the passenger side. So when it deployed, it ripped. Because when the airbag deploys, it rips the plastic seal that's on this cover that holds this cover down so that the bag comes out. It's designed that way so it can come out towards you, and, you know, to keep you from going headlong into there. So when I put it on with the airbag, it had a hump in it here. It left a gap like that right here in the center, and you could see the airbag. I mean, you could look through there and you could see the airbag. So that's not going to work. So what I try to do is I try to go down to O'Reilly's and see if they could match the color yesterday, but they didn't have it. They didn't have the. They told me I got to go to Brownsville, I think, or something, because they don't have the rattle can where they can load it into a rattle can for you and matching other code. They used to do it here in Harlingen, but they're telling me now it's done down on 14th Street down there in Brownsville at their main place for auto body and auto parts. So that's something I got to look into. If not, I found two more trucks on Facebook. Got one out in Far, one out in Mission that has the same dash, and in the pictures it looks like the cover is still unbroken. So I did message them, but I haven't heard anything back to wait. But hopefully that'd be the easier route than trying to paint it, because I was thinking about just painting my gray one. My gray one's perfectly intact. I can put it on there and put the airbag in, but this whole piece is going to be gray, and it's not going to look right. If I had to, you know, if I can't come across one here in the next couple of days, that's what I'm probably going to have to do. Because right now, nobody else has been riding in the truck on this side anyway, so, you know. But that's the only hang-up, is the airbag situation for the cover. Because when you put it on, it rises about this high because it's already blown out, so it's already warped and it's ripped. And I thought about JB welding it across there, but then if I do that, I don't know if that's going to be an issue if the airbag, if I was ever involved in an accident and I need the airbag to deploy, if that's going to cause the airbag not to deploy because it won't be able to rip that seal across there and open it up so the bag can come out. So I just want to find one that hasn't been used. That's going to be the easiest thing. Just find one that hasn't been used so it's ready to go. And that's what I'm looking at. But other than that, it's good. I got the glove box. I didn't put it in. The top one, the upper one. Oh, actually, it goes this way. I'm sorry. But I do have it for right here. And it's perfect. Like I say, everything, I just didn't want to mount that just yet because I was waiting to hopefully hear back from these guys today so I could go and pick one up if they got one available. But yeah. Good deal. But yeah, it's beautiful. Look at that. Looks brand new. And it came off a 2014 model. I just put my old radio back in. The reason why I was going to use the other one, I haven't figured out how to take the anti-theft off it. I've seen some research on it where supposedly you can open it up and pull a chip out, but I don't know if that's true or not. You can take it to the dealership and they can recode it for you, I think for about 150 bucks. But I just might look at putting an aftermarket in here. You know, one that's got GPS or something on it, which that's what I might do. I just might go ahead and take care of that and do that, and just not even bother with putting the standard one back in here, because the speakers are so old and stuff. All that needs to get updated anyway. So I'll probably go down and eventually look at an aftermarket one for this. But I'm pretty pleased. It makes it look pretty good. Next thing would be is I gotta do the seats. I have the seats too that I bought out of that truck to replace my old ones here because they're starting to tear. Got a lot of miles on them. And a jumper seat too. I've never liked this jumper style seat, this open thing. It's always been well, as you can see, a trash bin. I mean, it just collects stuff and it just never does look right. But the one I did get is it's a double enclosure. It has an enclosure here and then it's got an enclosure underneath the jumper, so it's got two bins to put things in. But the seats look exactly like mine, but they're charcoal. They're this color. They're solid charcoal. It's the same thing. It's fabric like mine. You know, one thing about these gray seats, they get real stained real easy. I mean, in the beginning when it was brand new, it really looked sharp with the black and the gray. But if I was ever going to buy a new truck again, I wouldn't get this style, because, or I'd probably put a seat cover or something over them, because you can't ever keep them clean. You can't. No matter what you try, you can't. And then once they stain, they stain. I priced the new skins for these things. That's about 750 bucks. I think I think that's just for the two top ones. So I think that's for the passenger and for the driver's side. And then I think the bottom ones are like 300 and something for the bottom. So again, you're talking like, you know, another $1,000 to reskin it. And I picked the seats up for, I want to say 600 bucks, 600 or $700. 700. I think I paid $700 for the seats. And they're real nice. They look pretty. They look almost new. So once I get them in there, I'll probably find some kind of seat cover to go over them to keep them looking fresh. And but it's just, you know, like I said, I've got 78,000 miles on this truck. I've had this truck everywhere. It's gone all over the place. So it's got a lot of wear and tear on the seats, a lot of abuse. It's been a good truck, so that's why I'm trying to keep it running. It's just a basic Silverado HD, nothing fancy. It's the first year that they went to this new body style, like the mid-year. And, you know, they made a lot of different refinements, like how they refined the brakes, the parking brake system, and refined this, and, you know, just a little few things here and there. But this is just a basic model. But well pleased. It came out perfectly. Dash is in. Everything functions except, of course, I'm throwing a code for the to service the airbag. It does run. The truck does run. I was surprised. I didn't think it would run without an airbag connected to it, but it will. I guess maybe the driver's side may not. I don't know. I just heard stories that sometimes that you got to make sure you have it, but it's running. It's just throwing a code on it. And as soon as I can get the cover, I would put the airbag back in there and get it rehooked up. But yeah, and I got my cover. I'm gonna keep over it, keep it looking fresh. But yes, it's beautiful. Very satisfied with the outcome. So the next is we're gonna put in the seats. Will be the next thing that we're gonna do on it. And like I say, I'll mount this once I mount that. And it'll be 100%. Oh, another thing too, I had to use my old cover, the new cover that I bought with this dash. It's all the same setup, except right here, it was one of those push button 4-wheel drives. And mine, I always prefer the one on the floor. If I can find a truck, that way you know, with the stick on the floor, you know it's engaged. This button stuff where it uses the vacuum, you know, you never know, man. It has a higher chance of failing than one that you can manually put in place. But when I bought it, I thought I could just take this off and put my little square tray here. So that was another difference. You can't on this side. This one will interchange with the other one, but this was fixed because it had that 4-wheel drive. You couldn't take it out. You couldn't put this little cubby hole like what I have on it. So I just took the vents off that truck. These are the vents from that truck. I took them off of there and put them on my panel. And then I took the one cigarette lighter or power, I guess, hole that you call, and put it on there. The switches, I don't have any of that anti-traction, so I left that off on that other panel. I don't need that because there's no anti-traction on this truck. This was before they started putting them on the bigger trucks. And then this is my old one too that was already on here. So, but yeah, it came out really good for my first dash that I've ever done on this truck. Never done one before. And so, really pleased. Nice and smooth. And look at that, you could barely see. You see that? Barely see the line. You got to really look at it to see it. I did a pretty good job patching it for never doing one before. I used some epoxy in between there, and then I lined it out, let it dry, and then I reinforced it with my plastic knives. Is what I put under there. And as I was saying here, I bolted this one down to stabilize it, but this one I'm not going to bolt down because it just seems like I'm going to leave the bolt off when I go back with the airbag. Well, the airbag's still going to have everything that it needs. The 4 bolts go over here, but I'm not going to bolt this dash down to the airbag bracket like how they had it, because it just seems like this needs a little bit of movement, because if not, it'll crack again right there, because it seems like that this is a stress point. So to try to avoid it, because look, when you put the dash in, look how it's off right there. You see that? That's how it should naturally sit, right in that spot. So I think they just put this up a little bit too high, and then that automatically puts stress, puts it in a bind to where it's, like that, and then eventually it's going to give because it's going to break. So I'm going to try it with it off and not going back with that one. I'll put all the bolts back in except for that one. That's the only one that's not going to go back. Other than that, everything went back in. Because when I set this down, this aligned perfectly with the hole, but this one wouldn't align. I would have to put pressure on it to make it align, and you shouldn't have to do that. It should sit perfectly is what it should do. So I think that's just a little small design issue, and that's another reason why they crack too. It puts pressure in here, and then the sun on it over time and they start cracking. Because like I said, mine was cracked here, it was all the way up here. All this was all cracked up. It was cracked over there. It looks like a brand new dash now. This old 2007, man. So, anyway, we're gonna look at the seats now. All right. We'll catch you guys on the next one.